So me and Charles are having a discussion, right? Because I go through my timeline, my Facebook newsfeed, and day after day, I just keep seeing great value Avengers, great value Justice League, great value Black Panther, great value whatever, right? From indie creators. And it's just like they're throwing these stuff out there, these projects, thinking like, oh, get a support. And it's like you guys are just basically doing Wolverine reskin. You're doing Spider-Man reskin. You're doing Superman reskin. Just because you swap out the S for an H and it's not blue and red, it's brown and yellow, doesn't mean you know what I'm saying, it's original. So we were having a discussion that essentially is for Black indie writers, creators, is the superhero genre, is it even really worth tackling that anymore? Is that already a field that's so basically overpopulated and just so overdone that is it just best for us to say, hey, let's let this shit go. Let's go off, do some different genres, do some horror, drama, Afrofuturism, sci-fi, whatever. Is it time to just let go of the capes and cowls and say, hey, you guys got it?
Charles, what do you think, brother?
Uh-oh. Your audio's off, man.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
So you got to think of like what did the Japanese do, right? Like with what they do with anime. They came through something completely different. Now they borderline taking over, like, that medium. Mm-hmm. So there's like a big opportunity to do the same, but we're not going to do it trying to like clone other people's stuff. That's what I say. We're not going to be able to do that, cloning other people's stuff, because I mean back in the day, anime was considered like somewhat taboo, like, oh man, oh, you listen to anime, you weirdo. Now it's like 10 years later and it's like, what?
It's like if you don't watch anime, you're out of the loop.
You're out of the loop 100%.
It's reversed. So,
there's a huge opportunity to do that again if we just put our minds to like focus on the stuff that's not being touched on, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for damn sure. It's just, I know people, we love the superhero genre. We feel like just because we do a Black Justice League in our own iteration, or just because we do a Black X-Men, that it's going to sell and that there's a market for it. But you got to understand, if I can just go get the X-Men, why do I need your comic? If I can just go read the Avengers, why do I need your comic?
Exactly.
If I can go read the Punisher, why do I need your version?
Yeah.
I think some of it is just like, I just want to do it because it's art. Cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I just want to self-express myself and make my own custom thing. That's cool. But for those who are like trying to seriously do it, it's just, this is an indie comic thing in general. Not even just a Black indie comic.
It is.
It's just an indie comic creator in general. There's so many people trying to do a Deadpool, Spider-Man-esque character. And like, we know it's Spider-Man. We see the bug eyes. We know it's Deadpool. We see the black eyes with the white line in it. Like, we know what it is. Why do I need to read that shit? I don't need to read that shit if I can get the straight thing from the comic shop,
Mm-hmm. So the question that I want to ask y'all then is does the blueprint for independent comics, are we at a point now where that needs to be changed? Does the thought process need to shift from, okay, how do we do the next Superman? How do we do the next Avengers? How do we do the next Black Panther or Batman? Does it need to shift from that to, how do we find our next Dragon Ball? How do we find our next One Piece that can run
that hear?
Right?
That's what I want to hear.
Right.
How do we find our next My Hero Academia? You know what I mean? Are the independent creators looking towards the wrong inspiration to be able to try to hit? You know, like I've heard. Are we kind of at that point where, because Donovan, even with you backed away from Florida Tales into Tales of a Shark. You know, Charles, you focused on O Kingdom Come because that was something that was so much different from a creative standpoint from the industry standard, to where it's like, okay, my best ideas that I have are going into this because it's so much different from what everybody else is doing right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the point now where we can back away from, you know, the Avengers, Batman kind of standard, to where there are better ideas coming from elsewhere, and that is what we should kind of draw that blueprint off of in terms of what we're looking at in the United States.
Yeah, I agree, and so it's much as it's like say we use Dragon Ball Z as the placeholder. We won't end up making a Dragon Ball Z, right? But we'll end up making something completely different just based off that blueprint. If we focus on that, just focus on that will lead to something completely different that people be like, whoa, what? Wait a minute, what is this? What is this? Is this serialized? Like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? So yeah, I do think that there should be a general effort to focus on a completely different kind of medium. And who knows, maybe something off of that product will lead to a comic similar. But for us to go into the superhero genre and off of their own archetypes, like the story, the young kid in school that gets powers, like, how many times are you gonna do it? How many other okay, so he's a paraplegic this time? All right. Okay, he's black this time. All right. But it's the archetype's not going to change. The kid, he gets powers, and it completely changes his life. The only things that are really shining right now are the things that are complete deconstruction of that archetype. The Boys, Invincible, complete deconstruction. Those are the things that are shining. So we can't go in trying to. They're already deconstructing, and we're over here trying to just build up. Like, what? They just deconstructed it.
We're trying to make damn McDonald's restaurants out of it.
If one of us had come out with an Invincible before Invincible came out, that would be different. But we didn't. Nobody else did. If one of us came out with the Boys before the Boys come out, that would be different.
Because what was the joint that was on Netflix in 2020? Was it Jupiter?
Jupiter.
Yeah, Jupiter's Ascending.
What happened?
Yeah. Wrong timing, son. It was ascending at the wrong time.
It descended. That's what happened. This shit crash and burn.
And I agree with you on that, because, and same thing with the Watchmen and that conversation that we.
Yep.
The timing on these things is equally as important as the content, which
Absolutely.
So I guess from a creative standpoint, like, what do y'all think is the biggest challenge to try to do something that actually like sticks, to try to do something that is different enough to get people invested into what y'all are writing about?
Oh man, Deon.
Man, that's pretty tricky.
That's a big ass question.
It is a big question. How do you safely test the market? You know, how would you safely pitch, I guess, an idea to see if people will actually be interested in it? You know, I think a lot of people bitch and complain about indie creators only have one issue, so they don't want to invest. People don't want to buy into it for one issue, and the reason why is because how are you going to test? You know, why would I continue making 2, 3, or 4 or 5 issues of comics and it's not selling? So of course there's a lot of indie creators with one comic book because it's a big investment, and if it fails, well, you're deep in, you're shit's creek, you're in the red, you know.
Sure.
So I think instead of full issues, maybe a page or two, you know, maybe some concept art, maybe like a little short trailer for something rather than a full investment of like, hey, we're gonna do a Kickstarter, we're gonna do this whole thing and see how that goes. Like give a little free samples, give a little samples. Don't go all in on it first, and just see if it has some kind of kickback, some kind of fee, you know. But I think people go to the superhero genre because they feel like it's safe. It's like the safest return on investment. Like, oh, everyone loves superheroes, so I'll do it because it's safe. And it's just very oversaturated right now. And you know, you might get some likes or comments, but in terms of sales, like, you know, it's difficult. It's difficult. And but I think you try to approach it in a way like, let me just give up a little small sample and see if people actually bite on it. You know, I think that's the only way an indie creator can really kind of test out the market without going full in on the first issue.